And it's, it's a little bit surprising that, well, I don't even know if I want to say surprising, but for whatever reason, like players like Innovation, TY, they didn't really compete or they don't really play in these online tournaments, except for Olima League, right? So it's always a treat to see Q.
Very much so is. I think we were talking a little bit about the racial breakdown if we look at, these top level Koreans who play in these tournaments. Sue, very on and off, plays in ESL Open Cup. Dark doesn't play at all. Rogue doesn't play at all. But then when we come to the Pro Tour side of things, you have Stats, Zest, Trap, Parting. Even though he doesn't play in ESL Open Cup Asia, he stays up to play in NA. Or I think, no, he wakes up really early to play in NA or something like that. But yeah, it's one of those interesting dichotomies that come around. That the high-level Protoss players do sign up, but the really high-level players from the other races, not as much.
I do really imagine that it is like a preference thing. It comes down to the player, ones who want to play in these tournaments and ones who don't. Part of it can also come down to like, Rogue. I was about to go into like the team house environment and like Jin, but at the same time, like Trap, he's always playing in this, right? Like
Creator's always playing in it.
Yeah, SOS every now and then, so like even their top player is playing this, so it's weird. It's just weird.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, I think it is just a weird coincidence when you really get down on everything. Because if you think about it, Deer also doesn't really play in these online events.
Yeah, and I have to wonder if it's like a day thing, or maybe it's just because these tournaments are relatively new compared to Olima League that's been around for years, literally years. Yeah, and they get
like
players
5 years old this year,
something along those lines. So like it's understandable, right? And I would hope that tournaments like this and other tournaments as well are able to get to that point, like in the Olima League, where we can get players consistently like Innovation, Sue, stuff like that.
Indeed, and I mean, you also have to kind of think that if there was any new tournament that they play in, it would be ESL Pro Tour, which gives ESL points. But to each their own. I guess they're really confident in their ability to win offline.
Yeah. It's different. Like, again, you could even argue that maybe like Olima League has a little bit more almost prestige to it, like because it's been around for so long, because there are monthly finals, because it's promoted so much by Crank in Korean, and a lot of Korean fans watch it as well. Like it's different, and it's cool that Olima League has been able to turn into something like that, and I would hope the same for some of these other tournaments. It's something like GPO as well, it's what I strive for.
Let's wait for that. And speaking of striving for, here we are in Eternal Empire, LE, protected by the Golden Wall, hiding the LE submarines, being upheld by the Pillars of Gold. We have here in the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the top right-hand corner of the map, the Blue Terran, coming out all the way from the land of Korea. He is representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming. We have Kyo.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Eternal Empire LE, we have the Taiwanese Zerg player representing himself as he is teamless. He is Rex.
And we've got ourselves a bit of a battle of the X-Jinner here.
Yeah. They both, they both have that history. Maybe they have like a little bit of understanding there. Maybe they're like, screw those guys.
Exactly what you're thinking.
Yeah. This camaraderie, I love it. And speaking a little bit about teams, like of course Cure has a new team. It's a bit of a shame that Rex, a player as good as Rex, is teamless.
Absolutely, I would consider him amongst the top players in Taiwan, up there on the same level of Nice and Haas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Rex, like he was in Korea for a long time. I don't know if he still is. Like even if he isn't in the Jinner house, he may still be like living elsewhere.
Back to Taiwan.
yeah, he could be back in Taiwan. I think
Yes,
regardless.
He was doing a few casts offline with a couple of the other Taiwanese players.
Oh, that's really cool, actually. And yeah, like regardless, like he has that experience. He's gotten better and better over the course of the past couple of years to get to the point where we can, you know, consider him one of the best in Taiwan, right? It's really cool to see.
Absolutely. And speaking of absolutely, Rex is none too pleased. Oh, this engineering bay block here, handled by Cure. And this might have just been a little bit of forcing Rex's hand here.
Yeah, it's always annoying. Oh, has to be careful. The creep trimmer almost got targeted down. And yeah, this is always really annoying to deal with. A little bit old school coming out from Cure. You know, often we see the bunker block, but the NG block, the advantage to that is the engineering bay has just so much more health. It takes so much longer to deal with.
It does. And literally right on the brink of getting completed. This is Cure really maximizing the annoyance of this NG bay while still being able to cancel it.
Yeah, this is what some Zergs have to deal with, and that's also why, you know, we do have a couple of Zerg players like taking earlier expansions or hiding their drone behind the third mineral line to get it earlier as well. You know, certain players have adapted to this, and yeah, if you don't, like, this happens.
Very much so does, and I was actually a little bit worried for Cure for a sec. I thought he might have been focusing a bit too much on his Reaper here. But looking back at base, he's just about covered all of his bases up. He's getting his natural base saturated, all of his transitions are on time, getting those Hellions and whatnot.
So, yo, we're talking about Cure, right? He's on top of it.
he's down.
Yeah, like
Cure.
He is a little bit he is a little bit overshadowed, but regardless, like, he's one of the best Terrans in the world, right? Like, you know, you can definitely make arguments for, you know, Innovation, Maru, and TY being the best, but like just under them, you know, there's Cure, and yeah, he's just on top of his macro, going for that 1-1-1, going for Banshees, which I do enjoy. This feels very old, like, I don't want to say old school, but like classic. Like, this is, you know, there's a sense of familiarity here.
Yeah, I think it might have just been because you were dealing with way too many BC builds coming out.
Yes,
coming out TvZ.
He's not going BCs. Oh, my hero.
Dennis, I remember when players did something other than BCs.
I don't. It's coming back to me right now. Like, he's bringing it back. Thank you so much. And what I was going to point out is that before that third base was thrown down, Rex went for that lair.
So it is, you can technically consider it to be a bit of a double base Muta transition coming out from Rex.
I think you could. I think you could. He's going in off of 4 gases. He took all his gases. So yeah, that's what I was curious of. Like, what was he doing with his resources when his third was being delayed so much? And it was getting that lair. So he is utilizing, you know, okay, my third is going to be late. What am I going to do with this? I'm going to get a faster Spire. I'm going to go Mutas, and we'll see what Cure, or if Cure is able to scout this and respond.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be on him. A lot of, for the most part in this game. But going in with the Banshees, that is going to be his scouting.
As long as it goes into the main, it looks like it's... Yeah.
But now they're just chilling a little bit of ways off from the natural base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like they are going to go in, and we'll see if, like, maybe, like, even if Rex uses his Mutalisk to deal with the Banshees, like, that's a win for Cure, right? Like, that's scouting information still, and it delays the Mutalisk because they're forced to deal with this back at home first before moving out across the map.
Yeah, we will have to see how Rex decides to use his Mutalisks. Almost losing one of these Banshees here, Cure. You gotta be really careful there. But he does manage to keep it alive, and he goes into the main, scouts out the Spire, and this has been an absolute win for Cure.
Yeah. He gets the scout off. He forces the Mutalisk to deal with this first, and 11 drones go down.
Wow. I'm not sure what Cure expected to get out of those 2 Banshees, but safe to say that he got a lot more than
and
what he expected.
as a result, right, he's throwing down those missile turrets, like he's getting anti-air as well, like he's getting prepared defensively, and he even has all these marines set up. So Rex, he has to be so careful with these mutalisks.
Very much so does. There are only 5 of them right now, which means they are uber vulnerable to even just a single missile turret as long as Cure is on top of repairing them.
Oh,
These was trying to snipe out a tank or two, but still could not quite get it. The Zerglings, meanwhile, dip in, and they dip right on out. Things are not looking well at all for Rex, but Cure looking so solid in his defense.
Yeah, 2 Mutalisks went down, and the Mutalisks of Rex, they didn't really achieve anything at all. I don't think they got like any workers or anything, and these things, you know, maybe he can find some damage here, which he desperately needs.
Yeah, well, they're already blocking that turret from being repaired, meaning that the Mutalisk can go in and get a couple of kills. But Cure, as we were saying, he is a man who's on top of everything. I don't believe he's lost. Let's take a little look at the units lost tab. He has lost 1 SCV throughout this entire game.
Jesus Christ, that's insane. And we do have these Banelings being morphed in, and but the tank is sieging up, so will the Banelings even be able to get the depots? Like,
the answer is no.
Wow.
He's gonna be helping out as well there. Meanwhile, that is just a reinforcement of Cure. That is just everything that's moving out of his rallies as he comes in, trying to deny this 4th base. The Banelings are trying to get a bit of a flank here, but I don't think that Rex has split this as well as he could have.
Oh, but the Baneling speed just finished as well, but there's not enough Banelings.
Fantastic kiting and fantastic splits as well coming up from Cure. As you're saying, there just wasn't quite enough. That was a kill on that 4th base there. So once again, things are looking very shaky for our red Zerg player. The meal has been kicked off by the reinforcements, and GG is called. Cure will take game number 1.
That was clinical.
Clinical.
That was he gave him that cure, and Rex he had no say in it at all. Oh boy,
I will prescribe you the cure. Is exactly what Cure said.
In your mind, is Cure a holy man?
I never thought of it that way, but he could. No, in my mind, Cure is a bit of a renegade. He's kind of a cowboy.
I was not expecting you to go there, but okay, he's a cowboy, question mark.
On a steel horse.
On steel?
Yeah.
Oh my. That was, again, like, looking back on that game, honestly, I really like what Rex did. Like, you saw that he surrounded the army, and he was actually able, when Cure pushed out, both of Cure's tanks actually went down, and the Banelings surrounded the army, and Rex got the best trade that he could, but, you know, that just wasn't enough, man.
Exactly. I think that really is the story there. Rex, I think, got the best result out of those fights as he could have, but in the end, was enough behind the industrial power of Cure. Production power, that's a term I was thinking of. Here in the top right-hand corner map, spawning in the top right-hand corner map of Everdream, Daily Edgeland. I'm not sure where that really lies in the whole scheme of the Pillars of Gold and whatnot, but we do have the Blue Terran coming out all the way from the land of Korea. He is representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming, the clinical cowboy. Can we call him that from now on, like the clinical cowboy? He is! Did I say he was representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming? Well, I did now. Cure.
DPG!
DPG! I knew I was forgetting something.
You had to throw it in there. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Everdream LE, we have the Taiwanese Zerg player representing himself as well as his country, as he is teamless. It is Rex.
Rex used to go on another team that ends with a G. He joined Brave Star. Why not?
Ooh, Brave. Yeah. Why not? One of those teams.
We're asking you directly, owner of Brave Star Gaming. Why not?
Should we be CranKy Ducklings Gaming? Should we?
No.
It sounds weird to say, right?
We can be CranKy Gaming.
No, it needs to be 3
Crank
letters.
Gaming. Okay, so what about Crank? I got nothing.
We'll figure it out. And
Fanfare Gaming.
Oh, I actually like that one. That was good.
FFG.
Why Cowboy?
Well, because I'm thinking, like, you know, once Cure left that Jin Air house, you know, he really started getting a lot of results, made it to the end of GSL. I was thinking more of wild card, but you know, that kind of wild card that's also a bit of a loner, you know, kind of like Joker, or I guess not like Joker, but.
What is going through your mind right now?
Rex is Heath Ledger in a cowboy hat in my head.
Mate, so I understand like a Lone Ranger, you know, like that would be good for Ranger. It would be good for someone who's teamless, but Cure's on a team. That's why I'm like, what do you like? What do you mean?
All right, so he's a turncloak.
A turncloak? That's got like a negative connotation to it. Like cowboy is a little bit badass, you know? It's like,
it is,
you know, yeah.
Well, you know what I mean is he's independent. He can be on a team, but he's independent. Okay, sure. I don't know how his team feels about this, but okay. I'm just trying to figure out the narrative. Fairly close as well, from what I remember.
God damn it.
Parting and Cure. And Dark.
Speaking of Cure and Dark, we have Cure once again going for a pretty similar opener, 1-1-1 into Banshees.
Yeah. Huge breath of fresh air here. After the numerous Battlecruiser openings we've been casting these past couple of weeks. Yeah.
And I think this is the same as last time as well. That fast third CC as well, before like additional production. So Cure, yeah, honestly I really dig the way he's playing this out.
Yeah, and again, the strength of these kinds of builds is you go into the early mid game with a lot of production capacity behind you. And that is something that Cure has been utilizing a lot to his advantage there. I mean, sure, he didn't have a lot of losses in those fights. Let's be clear about that. But even if he did, I'm pretty confident that he'd have been able to remake those easy peasy.
Yeah, definitely. Like we saw in that last engagement, even though like the majority of his army got cleaned up, like there was just a big, massive reinforcement like chain coming behind him, and it all like ran into the Mutalisk, or the Mutalisk got caught out. Like the industrial capacity here for Cure can be insane, and we'll see how Rex like switches things up.
Maybe he's actually a factory worker.
Is that what you want to be known as, the factory worker? Is that?
Look, he's got industrial might behind him or something.
Good.
Alright, well, Rex is actually switching things up quite a bit in this game. No early lair. He's actually going for 1-1 upgrades right off the bat, so he's going to be looking to get a very strong Ling Bane composition. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, Light, but I normally associate that with being pretty defensive. Unless you're rushing, but...
Yeah, I would say, I don't know if defensive is the term, but like it's more macro-oriented, right? Like, in the previous game, he went for an earlier Spire to try and get early damage done with those Mutalisks. This time, he's investing in upgrades that take a lot longer to like come into play. But despite that, these two Banshees are still here.
Always finding those angles where he can fight without any anti-air. Loses one, the other one's still in the air. Already, again, 11 drones have gone down.
Yeah, it's he's gotten that magic number again, and this time there's no Mutalisk to clean this up, so potentially the Banshee can dive in again and get even more damage done.
It is. It may not be a BC, but it can be as annoying as a BC.
Oh, whoa.
It has the potential to be. It's not often that.
Yeah. Okay. And, you know, he's still going for that Spire. He even got a Macro Hatchery as well, so he is investing a lot into this Ling Bane. He's going to have plenty of Larva available to him, and even trying to get a surround on those Hellions, but Cure does slip away.
He does manage to slip away with the bulk of his with the bulk of his harassment force here. So yeah, all things considered, things have gone pretty well for Cure, but now that Rex has been able to deflect it, his 1-1 has come into play. His 4th base is going to be secure, getting a macro hatch behind that. I feel like the tides, in terms of production anyway, are going to swing into Rex's favor fairly shortly.
Yeah, the big question is though, this push is going to hit before Baneling speed, so this is going to be speedless Bane trying to deal with this, and a lot of the Lings are being used here in this counterattack instead.
Yeah, and actually losing quite a number of them. It is not at all what you want when you have a push moving out right to your front door.
Yeah, like, there's not going to be too much here. We do have a couple of Ling Bane. Again, slow Banes, it's important to note. Oh, we'll see. Nice surround.
Yeah, actually a very good surround here for Rex. Getting all of these tanks, but the Banelings have been sniped off. And the tank actually even lives.
What?
This Bio Force is going completely unhindered.
Oh my god, I was expecting at least the tanks to fall, but nothing. Like, the Marines stood strong, the tanks stood strong, reinforcements are coming as well. Panic Banelings are being morphed, but that production
Queens and the hot pickup. Again, things are going from bad to worse for Rex here. Does send the Banelings out now, though, is going to be trying to look to get us around and might actually get these tanks unsieged.
Oh, no.
If he's able to do that, Cure is going to have a lot less staying power.
There we go. So Rex, he does catch the reinforcements. He does catch a couple of naked tanks on their own, which is key to trying to hold on to this. At the same time, Cure, he's continuing to push into the 3rd base. That
he is. Not a lot of Zergling buffer here for these Banelings right now, but a lot of them actually getting a little bit wasted right here. Cure started kite back into 2 tanks, and once again, the Banelings have been spent, but this is a lot of Lings and not a lot of Marines.
Yeah, and honestly, even if Rex cleaned this up, which he may not even be able to clean this up, like, oh my, that's it!
And Cure, the cowboy, cleaning it all up.
Wow.
And I was gonna say, if, go ahead.
Go on.
No, I was just gonna say, if at worst case scenario, Rex is still able to get those tanks, and from there, he's gonna have a little bit of a, he's gonna have a little bit of a breathing room. It's still gonna be difficult for him to hold, but it'll still be possible. But again, Cure's production, his macro, just completely on point. By the time those tanks were cleared out, another wave of bio was marching across the map, and without any Banelings to hold that. Yeah, Rex kind of saw the writing on the wall there and decided to tap right on out.
Yeah, you could even see it in the supplies. Like, Cure was ahead by like 50 supply, I think even more than that, towards the end of that game. And it's just that push is designed to like deny, maybe even kill that 4th base, and that's it. Like, that's the point of that push, But it just got so much more done, and a lot of that came down to, we were pointing it out, like, Rex, as that was happening, he spent like he sent the majority of his Lings across the map, and they didn't accomplish anything.
Yeah, we were talking quite a bit about Rex's macro there, but I think another point is building placement, right? Even at areas where he wasn't fully walled off, he knew where to concentrate his forces, where to really choke out those Lings, prevent them from getting anything done. And all in all, it translated to, as you were saying, that push meant to kill the 4th base. Cure taking next to very little losses there meant that it was easy for him to snowball into a victory.
Yeah, definitely. And again, like, if those Lings that went to harass across the map were at home instead for defense, then I imagine at least that tank would have died, right? Like, like, that tank surviving just meant so much. Like, Jesus Christ.
Absolutely did. And to be fair, I think Rex, going for that Ling counter harass was not the wrong move, in theory, right? Because when you have a Terran player right on your face like that, you can really go either way. Keep those Lings at home to defend, or send them across the map and try to prompt your opponent into going back home. And we've seen that actually be successful for a lot of Zerg players. But in this particular scenario, that was not the right call for Rex to have made.
Yeah, you can definitely argue that it was just a little bit unfortunate, because the Lings, when they went across the map, they ran into reinforcements, then they just immediately got cleaned up.
They did. Cure's macro, man. Absolutely on point.